The following is a paid program brought to you by My Philly Lawyer. The views and opinions expressed are those of the sponsor and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the station and its management.
Good morning. Court Radio is now in session. Call 215-227-2727. When you've got legal questions, we've got the answers. This is Court Radio. And now here's your host, Dean Weitzman.
Good morning and welcome. It's Court Radio, and it is June the 12th. Weather's beautiful outside. Relax and enjoy 1 hour of legal entertainment. You got legal questions, we got the answer. Just give us a call at 215-227-2727. Boy, it's been forever since I've been on Court Radio. It's good to be back, folks. I thank my loyal listeners. We got a great show today. I got some news. Well, this first story isn't really quite the news. I'm not even sure why it's printed here, but President Obama... Sorry, Kyle. Kyle's a new guy here on the board.
Help you today.
President Obama is supporting Hillary Clinton. Wow, that's a big shock. He's actually going to stump for her in those states where he did well in his own campaigns. So we'll see how that helps her. Everybody thinks it's going to be a big boost for Hillary. I'm not sure she's going to need much of a boost. I kind of think that Trump's going to peter out. But we'll see. What do you folks think? Do you think he's going to peter out, or do you think he's coming on strong? I say it's a, 6 or 7 point landslide for the Democrats this year. How can anybody seriously take Donald Trump? Anyway, that's, I'm not shy about who I support, I guess. Anyway, real news in Philly is the Philly soda tax. The city council has voted in favor of a 1.5 cent tax on sugary drinks, including diet sodas. So all sodas, diet and regular, as well as all other sugary drinks, they add sugar, it's getting taxed 1.5 cents. Supposedly, the tax money's going to education. We'll see about that. I hope so. And according to the pundits, it is more likely that we'll all drink less soda and be healthier for it. The question, we're getting to the point where we're taxing everything that is bad for us. And I don't know that that's a bad thing. If you smoke and or if you drink a lot of soda, you probably have a greater chance of getting diabetes, and you probably have a greater chance of being a quote-unquote financial burden on society. Like, we all have to pay for the health care that some people are using because of the decisions they made throughout their life. So the question is, should those people kick in a little bit more to help defer those costs? Now, I'm sure there's going to be some opinions on that, and I'd like to hear from our listeners. So 215-227-2727. That gets you into the studio, where we will do our very best to answer your question. All right, hot button topic today. We have, let's introduce him properly, attorney Greg Mincy. Welcome and joining Kevin. Why did I say Greg? It is Kevin. Kevin's he's gonna beat me down in the elevator every day. He's one floor above me at the great 2 Penn Center. Welcome to Court Radio.
Thank you, Dean. Appreciate you having me.
Kevin, Greg is. You know why? Here's why.
Think of my better half.
Oh no,
I did not.
Yeah.
He's thinking of my better half.
Yeah. Kevin's brother Greg is not an attorney. He's not here, and Greg is filling in for him. Yeah, no, Kevin is filling in for him. This will go down in history. But, Monica was close to being fired. The producer of Court Radio has now officially been fired on the air. She'll be finding another job next week.
The mood lighting threw her off in here.
Yeah. All right. Kevin practices primarily criminal defense work and is a fine attorney. And so, in fact, so fine that he was asked to join a board of directors for the Pennsylvania Innocence Project. Now, we've had the Innocence Project on Court Radio many times, but never Kevin. And we're so happy to have you here today.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you having me here.
Yeah. The Innocence Project, and we're going to get into it in more detail after we take a couple calls, but the Innocence Project is the group that steps up for those who have been unfairly treated by the system, I suppose.
Sure, the wrongly convicted, and we also support policy change generally in the criminal justice system.
Now, we actually, here at Court Radio many years ago, had James Bain on from Florida, and at that time, Mr. Bain was the longest-held, wrongfully convicted person in America. He had over 30 years behind bars for a crime that they conclusively proved he did not commit. And so he went into jail when the first Godfather came out. Okay? He missed Star Wars. He missed all of that. He comes out of jail in the early 2000s. And you know what? The guy had a way about him that he was so, grateful and humble and did not seem to carry a big stick about what happened. I don't know that I could do that.
Better man than me.
Yeah, amazing. I'm sure you have stories, and we're going to hear about them. Let's take a caller first. Let's talk to Thomas from Fishtown. Hey, folks, if you've got a legal question, give us a call at 215-227-2727. We got Kevin Mincy on the air talking about the Innocence Project and anything else you need to rap about. All right, Thomas, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Fishtown has become like a hot spot, you know? It used to be when I grew up and was a kid, Fishtown was not so nice. Now it's like you got to have some cash to be living in Fishtown.
Definitely.
It was a good investment.
Yeah. All right. Well, we won't get into your finances too much because you got a question about child support, don't you?
I do.
All right. What is it?
I'm a divorced father of a 19-year-old college student. We have joint custody with a 2255. My wife moved out of the region, and I'd like to know if there's a way I can have my child support reduced. I'm a parent of primary residence, pay insurances and everything, and I have no problem.
Well, my question, wait. Did I mishear you, or did you say your daughter was 19?
She's 19.
Okay, so in Pennsylvania, after 18, you don't have to pay child support. Nobody does.
We were divorced in New Jersey, and as long as she's a full-time college student.
See, okay. So, but where does your daughter live?
She lives with me in Pennsylvania.
Well, you could probably have had, I don't know how long she's lived here, but once a child moves jurisdiction, after 6 months of being in the new jurisdiction, that jurisdiction has control over the case. And so I would venture to guess you could have filed a petition in Pennsylvania to have transferred her case here and gotten an order from this court. And as you probably know, and our listeners, I want them to know that in Pennsylvania, after a child's 18th birthday, you do not have to pay support. You have no obligation to pay for college. Assuming the New Jersey order stands, even in New Jersey, any significant change in circumstances is a grounds for filing a petition for modification. And if your circumstances change because you're now the primary custodial parent and the child's mother is not even in the picture, so to speak, on a regular basis, and you've got more obligations to pay because of that, then yes, I think that you stand a good chance of having that order modified.
Okay, and even though there's the uniform interstate thing, Jersey won't retain jurisdiction?
No, they will not.
Okay.
The uniform laws mean that Pennsylvania will enforce Jersey's, like, let's say your daughter lived in New Jersey and you weren't paying, okay? Your ex could file an order here in Pennsylvania and say, hey, I have a support order in New Jersey, and he's not paying, and the Pennsylvania courts could garnish your money here in Pennsylvania and send it to New Jersey. They will honor the New Jersey order. But once your child moves to a new state, after 6 months, that state now has jurisdiction.
Okay.
All right.
All right. That's great information. Appreciate it.
Listen, Thomas, if you need to file a petition in Pennsylvania, all you got to do is call 215-227-2727.
Completely understood.
Take care, and thanks for calling Court Radio.
Thank you. Bye.
See, Kevin, that's what we do here.
I see you.
Yeah.
Good work.
We try to. So let's talk for a moment. How long you been on with the Innocence Project, and what is your official role there?
I'm on the board of the board of directors at the Innocence Project. I've been on since, I guess, for 3 years now. This is, I guess, maybe 2.5, going on 3 years. So I'm a board member. We go over the finances. We make sure that the organization's in good financial health. Help make some of the decisions. We are expanding into Pittsburgh at this time. So there's a lot of big stuff going on with the Innocence Project. Exciting times. Where
is the Innocence Project located in Philadelphia?
We just opened our new offices down right across in our plaza, 15th and JFK, and Temple University's building. We were initially founded in 2008 at Temple University and were basically working out of a generously donated office and some space from Temple Law. But now we're downtown, and like I said, we just opened an office in Pittsburgh.
And how do people, like family members of prisoners, how would they get in touch with the Innocence Project if they thought that they had a case that might interest you?
A lot of times they contact us via letter. I should be better. I should have the address in front of me. I'll pull it up maybe during the next call. But a lot of times they'll send us letters, or family members will reach out to us, through the website or via letter or telephone call, and we screen a lot of cases. We hear a lot of stories. We do a lot of investigation before we even decide to take on a case.
Yeah, I imagine that you see far, far, far more cases than you take.
Absolutely.
A big funnel there. A lot comes in, but only a few come out at the other end that you deem to be meritorious or winnable. You might think a case has some merit, but if you can't win it, you can't win it.
Sure, and we try to get to as many cases as we can, and then a lot of times it just takes time to, accurately and thoroughly review a matter, and so, that slows down the process as well.
Do you, as a board member, but you're also an attorney, and I'm sure there may be some board members who aren't attorneys, but do you, as an attorney who specializes in criminal defense, do you get involved in actually reviewing these cases and undertaking representation?
Sure. Well, sure. Once the matter kind of comes through all of the filtering systems, it gets mailed to us, and the law students start reviewing it, and then there's like a preliminary review level, and then there's a panel review, and then it gets presented to the board. And all throughout that process, there are a lot of different ways that the attorneys and the board members can get involved and help review the cases, whether it's in the 3-lawyer review or just maybe assisting with forwarding the name of an investigator to help us do some work on the matter. So there are a lot of different ways that we have input. And then my firm hasn't had an opportunity to do it yet, but hopefully one day the time and the days will be right. But other board members' firms have stepped up, larger firms who are financing this case or helping to finance the cases, to defend people who have been wrongly convicted.
So once the Innocence Project says, hey, this case is one we think should be prosecuted, should be pursued, an outside private law firm is asked to get involved and undertake that case?
Or partner with us.
Uh-huh.
We have a legal director and lawyers who work for us. I mean, some of the best names, in the city, your Dave Rudofsky's are on that board, and Marissa Boyes Bluestein is our legal director. We have great legal minds, but you also just these cases need people You need minds to look at it from a lot of different ways, and then you need the resources. And we provide our own resources, which is why a lot of people, donate to the Innocence Project. But then, in other ways, these law firms are also donating to us as well by giving us, people and resources to help us move the cases.
Cool. We're going to talk about some specific cases, but let's take a call from a caller, Sarah from West Oak Lane. Good morning, Sarah. Welcome to Court Radio.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. And you?
I'm doing great.
So
okay,
what is
here's
it?
My scenario.
Yeah, go ahead.
Here's the scenario. 2009, I was hit by a car. We went to court, and it was settled that she would, make a payment arrangement. So she's been making arrangements. Well, the award was $20,000. She's been making $30 payments. So I wanted to know, is there a way, or how can I find out, how can I locate her? Because since October, she stopped paying. So how do I locate her to maybe garnish her check and her taxes?
Well, you'd probably have to hire a private investigator to do that. And whatever information you have, like her name, her previous address, her date of birth, Social Security, whatever biographical info you might have along the way, you'd give to the private investigator, and they have a way of using computers nowadays that can locate almost anyone, almost anywhere. But it's going to cost you some money. But, and then the other thing is, and I just throw this out there, if she were, and by the way, just so my listeners understand, I kind of figured this out. If you're getting at $30 a month, okay, on a $20,000 judgment, clearly this woman didn't have insurance at the time that she hit you.
She had bare minimum. The bottom line was she was driving without a license.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And the car that she was driving, they had the bare minimum, whatever, to make you legal to drive.
So wait a minute. Did you get like $15,000 out of the 20 then back in the day? No. So let me tell you that she didn't have any insurance, because minimum Pennsylvania insurance is $15,000. Was this a Jersey case?
No.
Okay. Yeah. So minimum coverage in Pennsylvania is $15,000. You can't have less than that. And if she had minimum coverage, when you got a $20,000 judgment, that insurance company would have stepped up and paid you the $15,000. They didn't.
Oh, no.
They didn't. So she didn't have insurance. I don't know what you think she had, but she didn't have insurance to cover her auto accident that day. Or if she had it, they didn't cover her maybe because she didn't have a license. So they disclaimed coverage. Bottom line is no insurance. You're getting paid by her. If she doesn't pay you, now this doesn't sound like a big threat to somebody who doesn't have a license many years ago, but you could get her license revoked until she paid you all the money. So she could never get a license again if you just file something with the Pennsylvania Department of Motor Vehicles saying that you have a judgment, it's not being paid, and it emanates from an auto accident.
Oh, okay.
All right? But
all right,
here's the bottom line, Sarah. If she disappeared in October, it's going to cost you some money to figure it out. And I don't know that, at this point, it's money you want. I can't tell you it's going to be money well spent. But if you really want to pursue it, a PI is where you need to go. Well,
the money is coming through the courts of Montgomery County, because that's where the accident happened. So it comes through, Montgomery County. So she pays them and they pay me. So somewhere down the line, I guess I need to go back to the Court of Common Pleas in Montgomery County and try to start there to see where she is or why she hasn't paid.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Thanks for calling Court Radio, Sarah.
Great.
Keep on listening.
Have a good day.
All right. Folks, if you've got legal questions or you want to hear about the Pennsylvania Innocence Project, if you've got questions for Kevin Mincy about what's going on in the Innocence Project or what types of cases they take, all you got to do is give us a call at 215-227-2727. We'll tackle your legal questions. Yes, we will, one at a time. All right, Kevin. What's an interesting case that you've recently handled at the Innocence Project? And as a result of this representation by the Innocence Project, who is the person who's been exonerated that had the most amount of time behind bars?
Oh, that's a tough trivia question, because we've had some people, I want to say we got someone exonerated last year, I believe, had been in custody for maybe close to 40 or 50 years. But the two people that connected most to me, when I first got involved in the Innocence Project, we were heavily involved in the Eugene Gilliard and Lance Felder cases. These were homicide cases from about 15, 16 years ago. That was maybe it's almost 20 years ago now. Two young guys had been convicted on some eyewitness testimony.
How reliable is eyewitness testimony?
Surprisingly unreliable.
Surprisingly, yeah.
And that's part of what the Innocence Project is trying to do as far as bringing forth change in the criminal justice system, is getting people to understand the science that goes into kind of discrediting the reliability of eyewitness testimony and getting the courts to accept it, and the district attorney's offices and the police departments to realize it and accept it as well. But Lance and Eugene were convicted of homicide. This is before, obviously, the Pennsylvania Innocence Project existed. They were, kind of exhausting their options. Eugene was writing letters everywhere and kind of heard that the Pennsylvania Innocence Project was about to come into existence, sent us a letter. We took the case, found the actual killers, got them to give statements admitting that they had committed the crimes. That still obviously wasn't enough. Then you had to get file PCRA for newly discovered evidence and a new trial, presented to the district attorney's office. Fortunately, after time, the district attorney's office was, willing to review the evidence. They still fought us in court. Ultimately, we won at the PCRA level, and then the charges were ultimately withdrawn against Eugene and Lance, and now they're home. Gene has a beautiful, beautiful new baby girl. He's married. Lance is doing well. Just saw them at our 6th annual yearly celebration gala, and it was really good to see them. So that's just two examples of many, many people that we are trying to help, that we have helped, and with help from the community and donations from everybody, we're able to keep doing the work.
The people in that case who were actually the killers, what happened to them?
They were already in custody for another case, which maybe made it easier for them to go ahead and admit to these murders, this murder. But they had been continued on kind of, I guess, their life of crime after that homicide, and ultimately landed in prison for another one.
Okay, all right. Well, listen, we got a caller, Christina, who has a question for you. Christina, welcome to Court Radio.
Good morning. I currently have a cousin who is incarcerated in prison. He is innocent in prison. He's been in there for 18 years. My family has reached out to the Innocence Project. We currently live in Philadelphia, and so basically I reached out to the Innocence Project in Pennsylvania, which is at Temple, and they said they weren't willing to take his case due to him taking a no contest plea.
Okay.
I reached out to the Innocence Project of New York, and they said that shouldn't be a problem of why they wouldn't take his case. Okay. So, yeah, I was just calling on regards to my cousin who's currently incarcerated.
Obviously, I didn't review that matter, and, I would imagine that the folks who made the decision on whether or not to move forward with the case had good reasons for it. It may have been something in addition to the no contest plea, but I don't know. I'm not looking at the letter. But I always encourage people to, to turn over every stone. And so I think it's good that you reached out to New York. You should continue to reach out to other people who want to hear your cousin's story, because there may be help out there. We can't, obviously we can't help everybody. That's what we were talking about in the beginning. So we're very selective on the cases that we take, and I'm sure that the process that went through in deciding not to take your cousin's case was just as rigorous as the ones that we go through when we accept the case too. So,
I'm sorry, you guys are breaking up a little bit.
Well, I guess the bottom line is that don't give up hope. Keep on trying. The Innocence Project doesn't take every case that comes down the pike for many different reasons. And while they may not be an avenue for you at this point, listen, they'll change their mind if strong evidence is brought forth. They don't want to see an innocent person in jail. And if they made a bad decision, that they would undo that bad decision, no doubt. But you got to keep on pursuing his claim and his rights. That's the bottom line.
Okay, thank you. And Kevin, do you guys have a number for your office, or is there a number that I could have that
For the Innocence Project? The Innocence Project is 215-204-4255, located at 1515 Market Street on the 3rd floor in Philadelphia.
And that's the one in Philadelphia, Temple
Yes.
University?
Yes.
Well, yeah, but it's now down in Center City, at Temple University Center City. They're no longer up on main campus.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for
All right,
calling.
I'll just keep trying. Thank you.
Take care.
Good luck.
215-227-2727. You've got legal issues. We've got the answer. So let me ask you a question. How many people has the Pennsylvania Innocence Project actually exonerated?
I'll say I know in the last 2 years, there have been 4 that I'm thinking of off the top of my head. I'm thinking of like Letitia Smallwood is the one who was incarcerated for like 50 years for arson she didn't commit. It's more than just exonerating people though, and what we try to get out to the masses to let them know that we're also into trying to educate the community about innocence issues and criminal justice issues that are affecting them. We're trying to really influence people on these eyewitness identification issues and get the word out about that. And so it's a multi-pronged approach. Certainly, what I view as the most important thing we do is try to exonerate truly innocent people. But there's other hugely important work that we do on the policy side that really makes a difference.
It seems to me, well, let me ask you this. Is there an epidemic of wrongful convictions across Pennsylvania and the United States? Or is this an exception to what is otherwise a perfectly well-run system?
It's certainly not a perfectly well-run system. I think that the percentages, if you look at it from, if you looked at it from 30,000 feet, you'd be like, oh, it's only 3 or 4% or whatever the percentage is of wrongfully convicted people, and you'd be like, oh, that's a small number, but like any number is a ridiculously large number, and that's our point. Is that an epidemic may be a strong term because it suggests like widespread across the general masses, but we think that every case is important. If a true innocence claim exists, then that person needs to have it investigated and needs to be free from prison if it's appropriate. So, it's certainly a problem, and that's why there are all these conviction integrity review units that are popping up across the country in district attorneys' offices. They're starting to take notice that the issue is there as well.
All right, let's take a caller who's got a question for you. Mike from Northeast Philly on line 5, Kyle. Hey, Mike, welcome.
Doing?
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
All right. That's a good start. It's beautiful out there. After court radio, you can go out and enjoy this beautiful Sunday.
Right.
Sunday. Dundee.
So, Mike, what's your question for Kevin?
Okay, Kev. My question is I had a neighbor when I was about 13 years old. He got accused of raping both of his daughters. But the judge didn't want to hear none of his side of the story, and he was in the military, and every date that they said that they did it, he was away on Army base.
Okay.
How do I go about trying to find out, trying to help him out?
Well, I would, you start just by contacting the Innocence Project at 215-204-4255 or sending us a letter to 1515 Market Street on the 3rd floor, 19102. You have to get someone who's going to be willing to investigate the claims, and pull together some of the old discovery. It sounds it might have been a while since the actual trial, but you're going to
it's been about 20 years.
You're going to need the original court files, or at least copies of the discovery that was available back then, and you need to contact all the Innocence Project, other lawyers, anyone that you feel like you may have a claim. You need to try and pursue it. Doesn't sound like it's new evidence though, so it might be a problem. Trying to pursue.
Right. Well, like I said, they didn't even want to bring me in on the stand because I was a witness.
Right, that sounds like a tactical decision and not like newly discovered evidence. So, like when you're petitioning for a new trial after the original appeal period, there are certain reasons that you can ask the court to reopen your matter, and one of those would be newly discovered evidence. And so, what you're talking about sounds like a tactical decision by some lawyer who decided that they didn't want to expose you to cross-examination for whatever number of reasons. So, I'm not saying that there's no claim there. You should certainly pursue it if you feel like your person has been wronged, but just understand that there are limitations to the matters that can be taken up.
Okay. Thank you.
Good luck, man.
All right. Bye.
Listen, one more time. We're going to go to break, but one more time, the telephone number for the Innocence Project so folks can write it down.
215-204-4255, and you can send us a letter, 1515 Market Street, 3rd floor, Philadelphia, PA, 19102. InnocenceProjectPA.org.
All right, folks, we're going to be back in 2 minutes with Kevin Mincy. We're talking about the Innocence Project, but we'll tackle any question you have.
You were just hurt. It's not your fault. You're in physical pain. How do you get better? Who is going to help you recover? West Philadelphia Associates has highly trained doctors and staff that can help you today. Don't wait at a hospital. West Philadelphia Associates will work with your attorney, providing documentation of all injuries and the best plan for treatment to get you back to the life you deserve. With diagnostic studies to better detect injuries, West Philadelphia Associates doctors and staff will help you recover. West Philadelphia Associates, here to help you get better because you deserve it. Call 215-471-4714.
For 20 years, Center City Medical Center has provided premium expert medical services for Philadelphia. Whether you need musculoskeletal rehab or an immigration physical, call 888-945-EXAM. Our board-certified physicians have more than 80 years' experience from post-injury rehab to DNA paternity testing. To make an appointment at one of our 3 convenient locations, call 888-945-EXAM. Get premium expert care. Center City Medical Center, serving Northeast, North, and Center City, Philadelphia. If you've been injured on the job and are entitled to workers' comp, you need someone fighting for you from the start. Call Jeffrey Gross, attorney at law. Don't rely on your employer or insurance company to get it right. Call 215-512-1500. If you're entitled to workers' comp or it's being challenged, Jeffrey Gross can help get the money you deserve, and he won't get paid unless you get paid. Call 215-512-1500. Jeffrey Gross, attorney at law, representing Pennsylvania's injured workers for more than 20 years. You've had an accident and can't work, but your legal case seems like it's taking forever, and the bills are piling up. At ThriveVest.com, we are here to help. If you have a pending lawsuit, call us at 888-697-7352. ThriveVest.com has flexible solutions to get you money now. And if your case doesn't settle or you don't receive an award, you owe us nothing. Call 888-697-7352. ThriveVest.com. Get the money you need to get on with your life.
The following is a paid program brought to you by My Philly Lawyer. The views and opinions expressed are those of the sponsor and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the station and its management.
Need more legal answers? Here's more Court Radio with your host, Dean Weitzman.
Yo, welcome back. I'm Dean Weitzman, and this is Court Radio. If you've got legal questions, we probably have the answer. All you got to do is give us a call at 215-227-2727. And we'll wait slowly for the explosion. There we go.
A nice touch.
Okay, folks,
You were just hurt. It's not your...
I don't know. He's a new guy. Kyle, yeah. If you're outside, if you're enjoying the weather, stop what you're doing and listen to Court Radio. You know, we probably tackle more legal questions in an hour than most lawyers do in a week. 215, well, because they hole up in their office. They don't take calls from their clients. They try to act like they're busy. And, that's a typical lawyer. I know, but not here at Court Radio. No. I lead it all out on the table. Call me with whatever you want. I'm going to answer you. There's nothing you can ask me that I won't know the answer to. Nothing. 215-227-2727. Don't ask me your aunt's last name. I don't know. Well, I might, but I probably wouldn't want to say it over the air. Let me talk to Wayne from East Oak Lane. I think we had West Oak Lane. We got East Oak Lane. We got Oak Lane coming and going.
Doing it today up there.
Yeah. Wayne, good morning.
How you
I'm
Good
cool.
Morning.
Good morning to you.
All right.
Give me the question. Yo, Wayne, give me the question for me.
Okay, the question for you is, I have rental property.
Yeah.
So in my will, what's the best way to leave them to my children?
Okay. Well,
tax-wise, anyway, tax-wise.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple ways to do that. One is you just will it to them. Of course, they might have to pay a little bit of tax on the transfer of that, like, as the children. They pay the least amount of tax, but a couple percentage points of tax to the city for the death tax. But you could also put their name on the property today. You can, in essence, you can gift them the property today, or gift them half the property. You could put it in your name and their name, so that they pay less taxes when you die. But these are estate planning questions that you need to call Saul. Okay, on Tuesday, you need to call Saul down in My Philly Lawyer, 215-227-2727. Saul handles all of this stuff, and he does it with a smile on his face, and he'll be your best friend when it comes to planning for your end. We're all going there. We're all going there, but we hope it's not too soon.
Amen to that.
Yeah. I got an amen. It's Sunday morning. I got an amen. Yeah. You don't know the humor in that. All right. We got Kevin Mincy here from the Pennsylvania Innocence Project and from my building to Penn Center. What are you doing? You scratching papers or something? Stop. Don't move.
Me?
You, yeah.
Wayne's got notes.
Oh, that might be my, actually.
Is that your gerbils or something? What do you got?
I'm actually at Paxton Hollow on the putting green. I'm practicing my putting.
Nice.
You are the man, Wayne.
Stay out the trees, man. Stay out the trees. Narrow fairways at Paxton Hollow.
Yeah, try my best.
Lost many balls there.
Yeah, he lost many balls there. You heard it here. All right. Give me your question for Kevin before we get thrown off the air by the FCC.
Okay. Kevin, the laws for drug dealers selling crack cocaine versus a truckload of powder, are they doing anything to kind of correct that for the people who are already incarcerated, and are they changing those laws to make the sentencing more liberal, I guess, or realistic?
They have revised the sentencing guidelines to make the sentencing for crack cocaine more in line with other substances. And there's been a movement to commute many sentences for those nonviolent drug offenders, serving those long sentences for crack cocaine or for other drugs. And so there's a shift and there's a movement, but obviously, this is off topic, but it's always on topic. All these elections are important, and we can stop that shift if we don't vote. So we need to keep voting so we can make sure that keeps going in the right direction.
Gotcha.
And he said, by the way, just for the record, he said we can stop that shift. All right, I just want to clear the record. I feel like a court reporter today, but he did say stop that shift. Okay.
Definitely.
All right. Wayne, go hit some balls. Thanks for calling Court Radio.
Hit them straight, man.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right. Folks, 215-227-2727 gets you in the door, where we'll do our very best to tackle your legal questions. So, let's go back for a moment and really drill down on eyewitness testimony, because it seems like, now maybe I'm wrong, like it isn't, is it bad police work that ends up causing wrongful convictions or bad eyewitness testimony? Do we give too much credence to eyewitness testimony?
Certainly, especially, on your initial impression, it makes sense. Like this guy pulled a gun on me, he robbed me, I watched him do it. But there's science, and it's just, your human instinct is that you're not staring at that person's face. You're probably looking at their hand, you're looking at the gun, or, you're looking around looking for help. So you have, I've defended people who were identified by the person at the scene as the person who robbed them, but, gave the initial description of a person had, no facial hair, and the person they brought back was a full beard, and they're like, yep, that's him. Just based on maybe the way that person was presented to them by the police. So there's no one problem that goes into it. It could be, poor lighting or poor angle or wasn't staring directly at their face. And then you have the police department when they show up and the guy's in handcuffs in the back seat, or, they hear on the radio things like, hey, we got him, bring your person around. And then they automatically assume that that's the person that they got. So there's a lot of different things that influence a person's identification and eyewitness testimony. And, we have to be vigilant about letting people know that those factors are out there and that it's not, just all said and done just because someone says that they saw it.
So when I try a civil case, I bring in experts, okay, that can help the jury to understand what is complicated stuff. And I wonder, do many criminal defense attorneys bring in a scientist who can talk about how unreliable eyewitness testimony is when you're faced with eyewitness testimony?
They're trying to. There was argument sometime last year. There was argument about that issue, being able to bring in an expert witness to talk about the unreliability of eyewitness testimony. Pennsylvania is traditionally slow to adopt many new legal standards, and so it's still a fight. The fight that's ongoing, but there is a movement out there for that to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, you're being kind by saying Pennsylvania is kind of behind the ball, behind the curve on instituting, new things. It usually starts, believe it or not, I guess New Jersey is often in the forefront and California, but Pennsylvania is sort of like always at the middle of the pack on, getting their shift together.
And that's why New Jersey has accepted eyewitness testimony, expert testimony on that issue.
See that? I didn't even know that. And I don't know. I lost my train of thought there for a second, but it seems like, I know what I was just going to, do a little segue here to say how shocking it is that Pennsylvania is actually at the forefront on the sugar tax. No other state in the country has enacted a tax on sodas, and Pennsylvania may be the first. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Look, I mean, it's going to cost 18 cents more per can of soda, but, it's going to go to the kids, the little poor kids who need education, because we're robbing them and putting people in jail and spending all our money locking people up instead of educating so that we're creating the next criminal class. I mean, this country needs me to run things, because with me, it's easy. I mean, this isn't complicated stuff. These politicians are bad. Most of them, you wouldn't hire them to do anything for you. And then you let them take all your money and run the country. And then somebody like Trump gets to be the president. Lord, that when he became the presumptive nominee, the number of Google searches for people who want to go out to Canada has, gone through the roof. I mean, they're all trying to figure out what the best route is from, Philly to Canada, and where the Wawa is in Ontario, Yeah. All right. I went off on a tangent. Sorry. 215-227-2727. So I see all the lines lit, Monica. I don't see pieces of paper for me to introduce anybody. I mean, you're giving them out so stingily today. All right. Let me talk to Terry from West Philly. Hi, Terry.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
My question is, since when did the law change for a plaintiff to repay their insurance carrier, healthcare provider, out of their settlement money? And is it legal for the opposing party to ask for the injured person's copy of their Social Security card, driver's license, healthcare card, and to provide them with access to their social media pages?
Okay, you just fit in a lot of questions into one. You did a good job. I want to tell you, Terry, that was like a law school exam question, okay? With like 7 parts. All right, let me tackle the first question first, and that is, it isn't a law that allows insurance companies to reach into your pocket. It's your policy. And the policies, well, that's where it starts. It starts with the policies. Yes, there's been some cases that have interpreted that policy all the way up to the Supreme Court. And let me say that the Supreme Court of the United States has done a horrible job in protecting people and their money from big insurance companies and health carriers. It's horrible what they've done. But that's because we've elected the wrong people who put the wrong people onto the Supreme Court, and that's just the way it is. But it starts with the policy. So your insurance company wrote a policy. You didn't know this, but it's part of your policy. And it says, hey, if we pay money out for your health care, and it starts because you were involved in an accident and you get some money from that accident, we want to get paid back. Now, that's not necessarily a bad idea. I mean, it's kind of like the tortfeasor, the person who caused this accident, is required not only to pay you for your pain and suffering, but also to pay your insurance company for the monies they laid out because of his or her negligence. So everybody who's innocent, you and your insurance company, get paid back. Now, that would work if we had oodles and oodles of insurance, but we don't. In Pennsylvania, we haven't raised the minimum insurance for like 30-something years. So we're still in the dinosaur age with $15,000 policies. So you end up getting shorted because there's not enough money, and the bad insurance company sucks your money right out of your hands and into their big coffers. And that's, again, it starts with the insurance company, but they're allowed to do that because the courts have weighed in on this and said they're allowed to do that. And some insurance companies, if the policy's written right, can take all the money. They don't have to negotiate one nickel off of their full amount. So if they laid out $10,000, they can take they can get, and you're only going to get, let's say, maybe $8,000 out of this case. They can take every nickel of your $8,000 towards their $10,000 bill. And that's egregious, unfair. It doesn't make them pay the cost that you have to pay. For instance, you get a $15,000 settlement, and you have to pay your attorney maybe $6,000. So you're only getting $9,000. The insurance company then scoops the $9,000 up, and they don't have to pay for any of the attorney's fees. They don't have to share in that cost of acquisition. And that's what the Supreme Court has done to you, to me, to Kevin, to everybody else. It's not right, okay? But that's the way it is, and it's really become a cottage industry now. I mean, in the last 10 years since, in the last 10 years of my practice, this has become, and not only the insurance companies, Medicare, Medicaid, I mean, everybody's standing in line to take your money, Terry. That's the bottom line. Everybody. All right. You had one more kind of question. I don't remember. Yes. What is it?
The question was whether the opposing party.
Oh, yeah. Listen, you become an open book. When you have an accident and you say, my back hurts, my arm hurts, my neck hurts, you become an open book. The defendant, the tortfeasor, the person who caused the accident, can investigate you to the ends of the earth to see if all of your injuries are truly related to this accident, or maybe you have pre-existing, so they can get your prior records. Maybe you had a prior case. They can get all the documents from that case. And they
can ask for a copy of your Social Security card, driver's license.
Yes.
Healthcare card.
Yes.
And,
Yes. Yes. All right, Terry from West Philly. You have, wait a minute, Terry, stay on the line because you had the best question, law school-like question. I'm going to give this to Monica. Okay. Monica's going to get back on the line and get your address, and we're going to get you a T-shirt for Court Radio.
Thank you.
All right, hold on.
That was a serious question.
Yeah, serious question. All right. Why are organizations like the Pennsylvania Innocence Project even existing? Why are they so important?
Because it's a lot of people, it's that last hope of having their innocence claim. I mean, you talked about a gentleman who spent decades in jail. There are many others who have spent years and years and years in jail for crimes that he didn't commit. And it's up to innocence projects across the nation, and certainly the Pennsylvania Innocence Project, trying to be one of the leaders in that and helping bring those people home. And so it's never not a time to fight for your freedom. So if you feel like you have a claim and there's evidence that bears it out, we want to hear about it.
Let me ask you, is there a website that people can turn to that has some more information about the Pennsylvania Innocence Project?
Yep, innocenceprojectpa.org, O-R-G. And then, obviously, like I said, 215-204-4255. But that is innocenceprojectpa.org.
There you go, because everybody is kind of wired in now to the Internet. So I'm sure you'll find a wealth of information on their website and probably a Contact Me page that will allow them to hear from you. innocenceprojectpa.org gets you in the door. We're still taking questions, but I want to know the two cases that you had mentioned that you were involved in. Did you review those for the Innocence Project? And what was it you were thinking, like when you started to see the evidence and you saw, like, these dudes are in jail for 20 years?
Well, I was only involved tangentially through Eugene and Lance, but they were the first kind of people, when I came on the board, that was the first case that was going on that I came into contact with. And it's just, when you're reading, anytime, we get discovery packets all the time, when you find a compelling issue that you're reading about, the more and more you're reading, you're like, I can't believe that this happened, that they would accept, an eyewitness identification that was elevated and looking through blinds and past the telephone pole, and that they would accept that as gospel. So, it was stuff like that, just as you start to get deeper and deeper into the cases and all the cases that we're working on, a lot of heart-wrenching stories about people. I mean, Eugene and Lance ripped out of their community at late teens, early 20s, gone for 15 years. It's when they're coming home. It's those types of stories too, when they come home, that make you feel like you want to try and do more for these people because there aren't a lot of opportunities out there for them once they come home.
That's a good question. You segued into what happens to these people when they're finally exonerated. They're innocent people that we've put in jail for decades, and they come out. What happens?
A lot of them end up adjusting, like Eugene has gotten married and had a baby, but some struggle to find themselves in a digital world when they left an analog one. And so they've never had their own cell phone, and these cars are all electronic and computerized, and they don't have the training to get jobs, and it's not their fault. It's not that they didn't want to go to school or they didn't want to work all those years. It's that they were locked down. They didn't have the opportunity to, and so now they find themselves in a world that doesn't really fit their abilities, and their abilities were choked off by the governments that are supposed to support them. So the Innocence Project is kind of taking up this angle of it as well. We're in the beginning stages of that. As you bring more and more people home, you realize what their issues are. And so, that's part of, if you support the Innocence Project, you're supporting that movement as well as helping these people, find a job, find an apartment, get some clothes, take them to Target. You get out of jail, you've been in jail for 25 years and you have nothing. You need some underwear, toothbrush, deodorant. It's that type of stuff that, that we're able to help them with in the very initial stages of them coming home.
And I got to say that probably most people listening to Court Radio right now would be shocked to hear that many, many jurisdictions in this country have laws which forbid compensation to the wrongfully convicted. It protects the state or gives them next to nothing for what they've gone through. And, talking back again about James Bain, James was in jail for like 35 years in Florida as a black man who was convicted of rape of a child. Can you just imagine what his life was like for 35 years behind bars, and he got less than $2 million? Who wants to give up? And he's an exception. Most people don't get anywhere near that amount, But who wants to give up 35 years of your life in bars, behind bars, for a paltry couple $1 million? I mean, please. We should be compensating these people generously for the mistakes we made as a society,
or at least supporting them, admitting that there are these issues out there, and finding ways to support these people, not just releasing them on the jailhouse steps, so to speak, and telling them good luck, but being supportive, understanding that you weren't here by choice or anything that you did. We're going to try and help you in some way, try and get on your feet.
All right, let's talk to Rhonda from West Philly on line 1. Hi, Rhonda. Welcome to Court Radio.
Hi. I had a question. I had a friend, a lifelong friend we grew up with, and he was accused of killing somebody, which he did not do. He had witnesses that seen him that night. They even had a couple of bus drivers that remember him catching the bus at the time they said this incident happened. And he's been in jail over 20-something years. He did 2 tours, I think, in the service. He was just getting a job with Federal Express, and he was raising his daughter. And I think one of the guys who said he did it even came back and retracted his statement, and he's still in jail till this day.
Well, the best thing you could do is go online to innocenceprojectpa.org and raise his case. Get some information about the old trial, and let's see if the Innocence Project can agree with you and can have the evidence necessary to undo the damage that you think has been done.
Okay.
I mean, that's really the Innocence Project sits there. They don't take it upon themselves to find the problem cases in Pennsylvania. They sit there waiting for people like you to bring it to them.
Okay, well, I will.
All right.
I will talk to his mother.
Yeah.
And give her the information because he's been in jail for a long time for something he never did.
All right. Well, thank God he has advocates like you. If you keep it up, and if it's true, then I hope that the truth is shown and that he can be released.
Okay, I thank you.
Take care. We're wrapping up. I want to thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Early Sunday morning.
No problem.
And there you go. And I want to also let people know one more time, Kevin.
Innocence Project.
The brother of Greg.
InnocenceProjectPA.org. And that is 215-204-4255. InnocenceProjectPA.org.
Listen, even the most hardened kind of lock 'em up kind of people in America have to acknowledge that there are times when the wrong person is convicted of a crime. And everybody who has a heart, who has a decent soul, has to want to find those people who have been wrongfully convicted. Yes, you hear it all the time. Everybody in jail says, I didn't do it. And most of them have, in fact, done it, and done worse probably. But some truly are innocent. And those are the folks that we need to find every day and let out and treat better than we have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate your help in letting us get the word out.
Folks, I want to thank you for listening to Core Radio. I want to thank Kyle for filling in. He's done an excellent job with the keys. His fingers are on them right now. And Monica didn't lose her job. Don't start writing to me tomorrow telling me, oh, Monica this and Monica that. We'll keep her on. And so we'll see you next Sunday. Same time, same place.